All right. Welcome, everybody, to episode 39 of the Navigating Now virtual roundtable series. I'm Anthony Ewing with Thoughtium, and I'm going to introduce my guest, Aaron, here in just a moment. Before we get started, I wanted to share a couple of housekeeping items. We go live every week, each Thursday at 3 o'clock. We broadcast to Zoom. So for those folks who have registered and joined us via Zoom, welcome. Throughout, you're able to ask some questions in chat. We'll keep an eye on that. We also broadcast live to LinkedIn each week. So for those of you who are stopping by the LinkedIn feed, we would like to say hello and thank you for joining today's discussion. We go live to YouTube and Facebook as well too. So we'll try to keep an eye on comments. Feel free to say hello. We've got an extremely exciting guest today as part of our Small Business Strong series. Over the course of the last almost year now that we have been bringing these discussions to you all, we've had a very particular focus on those small businesses who have done some pretty exciting and innovative things to not only stay alive, but also to thrive through the pandemic. And today we have not only a friend of the Navigating Now community, he's also a personal friend of myself. He's also the founder of Wattage here in Chicago. We'll talk a little bit about Wattage, the company, Wattage, the brand, Wattage, the movement. Aaron Manheimer is the founder and owner of Wattage. And Aaron today is going to be talking to us about the changing face of fitness. Fitness is one of those industries that has absolutely evolved in so many different ways and taken off in so many different ways. And we're going to talk almost tactically about how Aaron has maneuvered over the course of the last year to really meet the needs of his clients and also to continue to invest in his company. So Aaron, welcome to the roundtable.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I should, the one title that I did not introduce was probably your most important title, and that is Dad. So congratulations on the new one.
Thank you. Yeah.
You maybe want to introduce your little guy here?
Yeah, this is Adam Joseph Manheimer. He's a little over 6 months old now, born during the pandemic. Is totally not aware of what's going on, so he's lucky. And by the time he's in school, he probably won't have to wear a mask. Right,
That's incredible. That's incredible. It's as much as this is just such a cool moment, and I know it's probably a little bit different for you to kind of have to multitask like this, or maybe it's not different. I love this because this is the state of the world that we live in today as business owners and as leaders. Like, we're just, constantly multitasking, constantly having to do 2 or 3 things at the same time. So what's it been like for you, running a business and being now a dad of 2?
I think it's pretty fascinating because when we shut down almost 1 year ago, and we really initially didn't have a plan. And I was lucky enough to have a friend who had been training some gyms on how to switch to virtual. And after a couple of weeks, we managed to do that with a decent amount of success. The main goal there was just to continue to pay the employees that work at the gym and not have to shut down. And so that was really fascinating because just the client response, right? That, they were super committed to us and they didn't want to see us fail with this going on. And that was pretty huge, the reaction from the clients. And they even suggested doing a GoFundMe, which we did, and we raised $40,000 for the staff. And they just went above and beyond, and they're like, yeah, let's try virtual. And we, slowly, bit by bit, it went.
And the handoff.
There we go, and the handoff. See you, buddy. So that, it was a combination of the employees really stepping up, trying something new, and then the clients really being flexible, being very interested in continuing their fitness in a different format. And that was really impressive. And then when we were able to open back up, there was just a huge outpour because we had always kind of focused, and I can get into that more in the business section on the way that we work on a one-on-one appointment only base, and then just maintaining really clean facility.
Yeah. And this is one of the things that we just love about, small businesses is your ability to make decisions. Again, we've used the term pivot a lot, but your ability to make decisions almost on a day-to-day basis is unlike, any other larger organization that might have to have a little bit more of a kind of planning process, a longer term trajectory. Takes a lot longer to build consensus and to make these big decisions. As somebody who trains at your gym and trains with you on a weekly basis, every Thursday morning, you and I have a little bit of a discussion about kind of the current state, where your business is at, where you're headed. And it almost feels like every week there's new considerations. So tell me a little bit about that mentality that you've had to adopt over the course of the last year. And is it a lot different, or maybe not, than the way that you were managing the gym prior to the pandemic?
Well, what's interesting is I had an idea because, I knew in the future we were going to move, and I had been slowly changing the gym over to a model where it's sort of like a barbershop, where each trainer would be set up with the tools that they needed at each location, and they could train their client in every direction from that space and not have to interact or commingle with other clients. And so that actually ended up working really well in a COVID environment. And so I kind of doubled down on that. I got more equipment, got more dumbbells, spread out everything instead of having like all of the foam rollers on one end or something like that. We spread everything out, and that's actually what I was planning on doing into the future at a new space, but we made it work here. And just coincidentally, it just happened to work really well for a pandemic. Now, it also works well if you just don't want to cross-contaminate people in case you have someone who has a flu or anything like that. It just happens to be a really healthy environment. Yeah.
So, the title of this episode is The Future of Fitness. And I want to get to you a little bit as a leader and kind of your past and what's led you to now, running this business and making these decisions on a day-to-day basis. But I would really like to just start with the topic at hand today, because one of the things I'm so fascinated about is an industry like fitness that has been impacted. You could argue it's been impacted more than most other industries. When you think about those industries that have really, really been impacted, and for the good, and also for the bad, you think about the restaurant industry, the hotel and travel industry, and you think about the fitness industry. And the fitness industry, more than the hotel, restaurant, travel industry, has had more almost opportunity to change and shift and meet the needs of folks that are now kind of at home, and potentially support like new and emerging behaviors that are happening in folks that are consuming fitness services. Where do you think this is all headed? Because we've had a lot of discussions about like consumer behavior in the fitness industry is really different today than it was a year ago. And is that here to stay? Are people, going to demand more kind of on-demand services? Are they not going to want to come to the gym? Like, what are you starting to think about in terms of the future of your industry?
I absolutely agree. A hotel can't really pivot if no one's staying there, and they can't offer you a virtual room.
Right.
Where fitness was kind of heading virtual. You had Apple was getting into it, and then obviously Peloton blew up during the pandemic. And I think something that people learned was that with a couple of dumbbells and a kettlebell and some rubber bands, they could really get a good workout at home, either through a recorded workout or through personal training. And that kind of like changed everything. Just like Zoom and all of those other aspects of the office life, I feel like pandemic kicked it ahead by a decade. I feel like the same thing happened here with fitness, where people realized that the need to go into one of these big box gyms and have a membership at one of these places, like those places are predicated on you not showing up. They oversell membership
Yeah.
and statistically 5 to 7% people show up. Whereas this model is, you just eliminate all excuses. You could literally work out in your bedroom as soon as you wake up. And to me, that kind of, it adds a whole new demographic. I think people that don't really like going to gyms, because gyms, it's almost like a jungle where there's hierarchy and there's a lot of like fluffing around and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be really intimidating. That's something we've always tried to, even though our facility itself looks pretty intimidating, none of us aim to be intimidating. We try to have a very welcoming space. It's super private, so that someone who is intimidated by the gym could start working out for the first time ever at a facility like ours. But I feel like the home is a even better place, because you don't have anyone looking at you, and you could just kind of follow a workout if you have some semblance of proprioception. So I think it's sort of like how the internet was supposed to democratize everything. I think that this virtual training is really helpful. But I also think that it's a tool. And I think that personal trainers like myself could be guides for people. So like if someone was like, okay, almost like a concierge fitness, where I'm like, oh, you should take this Peloton class on Thursdays. Then you're going to work out with me and lift weights on Tuesdays. You're going to do recovery yoga session through Apple Plus on Wednesdays, because there's always way too much information in the fitness world. And so you need a filter. You need someone who knows what's going on. What people don't understand is that all training is cumulative. So like having a weekly schedule and having a monthly and annual schedule is really important for results. I just feel like it's a whole new tool. And I have clients that I can now train when they go on vacation or when they, go overseas.
Yeah, it's interesting because you look at the fitness industry, and we were almost, pandemic or not, we were headed towards more of an a la carte business model, right? I mean, prior to the pandemic, you started to see, Orange Theory, and some of these other kind of smaller, like a la carte boutique type gyms show up, and then ClassPass, really invited people to almost choose variety. And it's so different than, 10, 15 years ago, when you chose a gym, you committed to that gym. Maybe you saw a personal trainer once or twice a week within that gym, but there was real, loyalty. And then the pandemic came, right? And it almost forced us to find our health in bits and pieces. And I remember, even early on, I was having, as a client of yours, I was having discussions with you about the 6 or 7 different things that I was trying to pull in. So I like your idea about how, you all as personal trainers are more guides. And it sounds like you're having to be more invested in, the several different options that your clients are after. And that's almost part of your service now.
Yeah. I mean, that's why it's so important for us to be informed on what's out there. I also think that, the gyms that try to have it all, like Equinox or Midtown in Chicago or FFC, I think that you're starting to see a company like Studio 3 that comes along and is like the main things that people like all in one place. To me, that's pretty interesting. But that's all group training, right? So that's a certain demographic. It's kind of hitting a certain age group. And then there's a lot of people that, again, just aren't interested in that, but aren't interested in a big gym. And I think that, again, like every time, you get a client, they're going to ask you 5 or 6, questions that come up, like myths of training, and you kind of have to dispel some of those. And I think the same is here. You got excess amount of content and not really like, a guide for that. And so I think there's a lot of opportunities in there.
Let's talk about your roots. Cause what I always love to ask small business owners is, were you always kind of after pointed towards reverse engineering, starting a fitness brand and ultimately a space of your own? And inevitably the answer is always no. Like it's not like, at 6 years of age, you said, I want to build a gym and a brand, a fitness gym and a brand. Maybe you did, but where did that, tell us a little bit about your roots kind of, and what allowed you to start to converge on this opportunity to start Wattage here in Chicago?
Yeah. Well, I was very nomadic the first half of my life, and I started playing rugby in college, and I didn't really like working out or being in the gym, but I did notice that my body was a lot less sore if I worked out, and it made me a lot stronger. So I started working out only because of that. And then I never took it really seriously. And then I dated somebody that just went to the gym every day. And so I started doing that. And one of the things that I did when I started playing rugby was started researching how to train for the sport, because there wasn't any information in the United States on it. And that's sort of what led me down the path of personal training. So I would create programs for my teams and I would train them, but it was just like, because that was what I was interested in. It was never my job. And it wasn't really until I kind of finished playing rugby at a high level that my sister was like, why don't you try personal training? And I was like, that's not really a career. Like, that's not that respectable. But I went into it, and I spent 5 years at Athletico, working like 60 hours a week as a physical therapy aide and a personal trainer. And ultimately, that wasn't their focus. So I left and went out on my own, which was a really big step. And I spent a few years renting at different facilities. And I just kind of felt like I could do a better job of focusing on personal training and clients rather than trying to offer classes and do small group training and have personal training clients in that mess. And I think just based on my personality as sort of an introvert, where I like a calm, clean space to work out in, and I don't need all the, barbells dropped on the floor, and I don't need all the grunting and yelling. I just think that you can be very calm and lift a lot of weight. And so I just wanted to create a space for that. And luckily I found this facility, and it worked out. I'm finding how lucky I was, because I'm trying to work on a second facility right now, and it's way more complicated, but yeah, it's been fascinating so far. And it keeps presenting challenges just when you think you've reached a plateau.
Yeah. What are some of the biggest challenges that you are kind of faced with? Obviously outside of the pandemic, obviously, dictating kind of your day-to-day moves, but like as a business leader and a business owner, maybe what are some of those challenges that you face that you maybe didn't think about prior to starting a business?
Well, one of the things I noticed early on, and I'm very lucky that I was able to coach for 6 years prior, right before I opened the gym, leading up to it. And that gave me, I feel like, a lot of practice in handling individuals and motivating them to be successful, and dealing and helping them with their stresses or problems. Because as a business owner, anytime you have any employees, whatever problems they have are ultimately your problems as well. And that was something where I was surprised as a coach how many issues would come up as far as like mental health or just egos and things like that, and balancing different personalities. And that exact same role came into play, I think, especially as a small business owner. You're really dealing with a lot of logistic issues, and then dealing with all these different personalities and trying, my big thing at my space is just like eliminating big egos and just working together. We have a no dickhead policy, and that, to me, that's really important, because just one person that isn't kind to other people, that's always worried about themselves and stuff, it just disrupts small businesses, especially, and there's just no room for it.
Yeah.
So those are kind of challenges that presented themselves. And then, look, there's always fires to put out, and, you kind of start watching your back when you've gone a couple of weeks and something hasn't broken or come up, or some letter in the mail showed up with a bill that you didn't know was going to come. especially in Chicago.
Right.
Those are always like challenges that you expect.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they're not as challenging as you would think. I think it's mostly about keeping your personnel happy, keeping them, balanced and well informed and happy. That's really important. Focus on
Yeah.
that, and then the clients will be happy.
Yeah. I came to you actually through a kind of emerging and alternative school of thought in fitness. It's called XPT, and I want you to talk a little bit about that because I think this is an interesting case where you've brought in kind of an outside methodology that helps you all do what you do on a day-to-day basis, but it's a little bit of a different school of thought in fitness. So, what is XPT? What's it meant, for you and your business, and how do you use it to support the growth of Wattage?
Well, when I founded the gym, I brought one of my friends and one of the guys that played for me as a coach, Mark Roberts, over, and he actually worked at the gym. You can say hi. No, you want to say hi?
Yeah.
Okay. He worked there for 5 years, and then he met Gabby Reese through a commercial shoot at the gym, and he got an opportunity to go out to Malibu and work with those guys, and they were doing something that's just incredibly impactful. And so XPT training to me is sort of interesting, as in that it's very basic, but to me it's ultimately a really good evolution of training. And something really fundamental is that they really tackle the issue of breathing and using breathing as a tool for increasing your performance, dealing with stress, helping you go to sleep, things like that. Now, I think that breathing techniques are probably 2,000 years old. And what's up? Okay, I'll be down when I'm done. Okay, picnic downstairs when I'm done. Sounds good.
No, outside.
Yeah. Okay, at the park. So that's one part, is the breath. The other part, and this is to me the more fascinating part, because I'm 46 years old. I played rugby. I have 7 knee surgeries. My knees are all screwed up. But they do weights in the pool, and it's a combination of like swimming and carrying a weight, or jumping from the deep end with the weights and coming up for air, or walking on the bottom with the weights. And you can create a routine. And again, you have to stay really calm, but have a lot of effort and really focus. And you can make it as hard as a rugby game without the impact to your body. Like, I've gone to Laird's house and done, 90 minutes of pool work, doing stuff I never thought I would be able to do, and being exhausted and literally like building up all this CO2, and your legs get fatigued, and then you feel amazing afterwards. And instead of being beat up, like you would in a rugby game. And so that aspect to me is so amazing. And I wish there was a way to really bring that into the gym without being $200,000 of, building a 14-foot depth pool and doing all this stuff. I'm sure there's a way to do it, but very difficult. The other aspect that they do is the hot and cold. And the idea behind that is they have sort of this hormesis effect where, a little bit of something that hurts you but doesn't is good for you. And there's a lot of evidence to support that using the sauna can help fight depression. It also speeds up recovery. It boosts your human growth hormone, and has all these effects. And then they also do cold, extreme cold, which there's something called your cold shock protein. So that also speeds up recovery by creating vasoconstriction. There's a lot of science behind both methods, and then there's some science that kind of debunking icing, but I feel like what it negates is the mental effect and the mental hardening that it creates, and also just like your ability to have your ability to heat your body and speed up recovery. And so those aspects I really like. And then they just have sort of, what they're not really known for is just like their movement, like workout stuff. That stuff is just fundamental stuff. But the other aspects of it, I think are fascinating. And honestly, like I think for especially men, as they lose testosterone naturally after the age of like 32, it starts declining. These are ways where, besides lifting your legs heavy, once a week, doing the sauna, and then I really think that the pool has a big effect on your lymphatic system, and then you're able to train really hard without impacting your musculoskeletal system. So, most guys by the time they reach 40 have knee issues if they play football or something like that. And it's completely for women as well. I'm just saying from my perspective as like an injured athlete, to be able to do things that are really hard, that don't hurt, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. I think XPT is just a really interesting example of where your consumers, if you will, are coming in a lot more informed than maybe they were, 10 or 20 years ago. And again, I go back to just the sheer difference between the fitness industry today in terms of consumer behaviors, consumer interest, and consumer knowledge versus the fitness industry 10 or 15 years ago. Where again, you went to the gym and you had kind of your fixed pattern, and you relied on your trainer to kind of give you the information you needed. Now you've got folks like myself who, I'm informing myself on XPT and really getting into, a couple different ways to stay fit. And then I'm almost coming to you, which I did a couple of years ago with an interest in XPT, saying, how can you support this in your space? Which to me, it feels like you have to be able to support a more multidimensional, customer, right? As opposed to they need to come and adapt to your methodology and even your equipment.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Our facility in itself, one of my specialties is post-rehab training. So a lot of times we have people come in with a specific injury, and they might be we also have physical therapy in our space that's run through Performance in Motion, and we partner together. And so, that's one of the things that I truly find fascinating is when I get somebody who's coming out of surgery or wants to avoid surgery, and working with them, and you have to create a whole new paradigm for that specific injury or that mechanism of injury and how they are going to recover from that. And I think that you're totally right. I think that there's a lot of fitness facilities that'll be, they kind of categorize themselves and specialize. They might be kettlebells only, or they might just be powerlifting or barbells and stuff like that. And I think that if you can have a space where you could pretty much train anyone in any different facet, and then you just use different tools. I've been in places where I've had trained with virtually nothing, and I have places where, it's a world-class facility. But the fundamentals don't really change, and the goals don't change. So just being able to thrive in that environment is really important. And I agree with you about the informed thing. I do think that Instagram is good and bad in the fact that I think trainers and clients watch that and see something and say, okay, I want to do that. That looks really cool. And you kind of have to weigh the cost benefit analysis of doing some of the exercises. Some of them literally are for Instagram, and some of them are really good and really great ideas that are getting spread to the internet.
Yeah. I wouldn't know anything about coming in and showing you some random Instagram handle saying, hey, can we do this today? And you just kind of rolling your eyes and saying, we could do a more healthy version of that. It's called the program that you've been on for the last 6 months. Yeah, that's super interesting. What are maybe some of the other, because what I'm so fascinated with, Aaron, is that because you don't have the big box format business model, you don't have the big box culture, and you don't even have the big box space. When I walk through your space, I see versatility. I see more open space than blocks of different machines and things of that nature. I mean, it really is such a versatile brand and a versatile space, which again is super conducive to what we're seeing in consumer trends right now, which is variety. I'm going to kind of bring some of my own interests and passions to the table. You get to be almost a curator of my health as opposed to the dictator of my health. What are some of maybe the partnerships that you think about that you might potentially bring in to, help support a more diverse approach to, health and fitness for your clients?
Well, we want to cover every spectrum. And so I just had this discussion with one of our trainers today that you can't really train somebody and not address sleep, stress, food, those issues. So the more problems I can solve, the better. So that's one of the reasons why we have performance and motion on site for physical therapy. So either someone might find us and initially be looking for physical therapy, and we would send them upstairs. And then once they're done with physical therapy, or as they're finishing, they would start with one of the trainers. Or someone could go be a client of ours and get in a ski accident and tear their meniscus, have surgery, do PT upstairs. But it's really important to continue training even when you're in physical therapy, because you'll speed up recovery. So that's one. Two is we have a massage therapist on site to work on soft tissue injuries. She has a lot of clinical experience. She travels with the U.S. women's soccer team. She used to travel with the Bulls. High quality. So one of the other aspects we would like to fix without delving into the food issue is for pre-pandemic, we had Farmer's Fridge. We were ordering food from there and having breakfast and lunch available to clients to purchase pre-made. And then we also have layered. We offer coffee and tea and water, especially the layered coffee, which you like. So that food aspect is one. The other part is nutrition in general. So we're just launching a nutrition program in the next 2 weeks. To offering guidance, because I have a feeling that as people get vaccinated and start crawling out of their houses, some people thrived in this environment. Maybe they only thrived in their work, but not in movement. And so they might have some physical changes they want to make, or they might want to get back on a path to health where they might have just not been comfortable doing that before being vaccinated. So I think that with the stimulus package and with vaccinations rolling out, speeding up, I think you're going to see a huge surge in the demand. Right now, there's like demand for surfboards and paddle boards and bikes and stuff like that. In golf, I think you're going to see a demand for personal trainers, nutrition, fitness programming. And I see that kind of really ramping up as we hit June, July, and August. And, we really want to be able to solve some of these problems. So if they come in, they want training, they want a fitness program, they want nutrition, they need a massage or PT, they might need an evaluation. So all aspects. And if I have some mental health people I can refer out. But hopefully if you solve all of those and you explain the benefits of recovery and sleep, you can have a tremendous impact. I think that the biggest thing that you want to get away from as a trainer is saying, okay, I'm going to beat you up for an hour and then I'll see you next time, and not having conversations about how you can benefit from the workout, what you should do throughout your week and to balance things out. We've had these discussions before where, you kind of have to have a day where you lift heavy, you have a day where you move fast, you have to have a day where you take a day off and mix in all of those things to really get benefit. And I would also, if possible, I'd like to have a setup where I could, I used to do some breathing and XPT type performance breathing, and we would do big workshops. And I want to get back into doing that and back into the hot and cold. And I think that's a pretty big aspect of what we want to do. We're really interested in doing the workshop format once people are vaccinated. And then another aspect is we have a program. It's not official, but I just have friends that are orthopedic surgeons. So if somebody does get injured, we can fast track them into an appointment with a doctor and do things like that. So that's sort of like kind of the benefits of being a client of Wattage.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, I go back to just the versatility of what you've set up, not only in your space, but also in the brand. And that being extremely conducive to the fluidity of the times today. What you're running at Wattage is maybe doesn't work in 1985 or even 2005, but it works today because what you've built is a platform that you can build on. You can bring external partnerships in and out. You've got world-class trainers that are, again, more curators of the fitness experience and a lot less of the kind of checklist of sets and reps. And that's super exciting. I want to touch on maybe one last thing before we close out, and that is community. You and I have talked a lot about this. You and I have also been part of some small communities here in Chicago that, have grown organically over the course of the last 6 or 8 weeks. You've obviously been a big part of the Navigating Now community, which has put you in touch with a few other, local business owners. We have a small group that meets every other Wednesday of, local entrepreneurs that are just kind of putting some of these big topics on the table and unpacking them. What does community mean to you today? And, how is that different than maybe a year ago? Because I think we're all looking at our 6-block radius a little bit differently today than we have before.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the pandemic made my community a little bit smaller. I mean, for a few months, my community was my wife and my son, and that was about it. And I had a lot of hanging out time with Noah, who was just here a second ago. And when I was training virtually, a lot of my clients were experiencing the same thing. So you have these clients that, like yourself, travel a lot for work, and all of that just stopped. The work was still there, but the travel was gone. So you had clients who were fathers or mothers that were all of a sudden spending all of this time with their family. And I feel like it was, it's a blessing in disguise where you get this opportunity that you never would have got. I would have never had like 300, 400 plus hours of quality time with Noah, going to the park every day, having this little routine, because I usually left the house by 4 a.m. every day and went to work. And so waking up and being able to see him and make him breakfast and stuff like that, I sort of pivoted my schedule once we opened back up to try to stay home a couple mornings a week and be able to do that, be able to send him off to school, be able to make him breakfast. I also just pick him up from school every day. So I would say that, I was able to broaden my community in that I started having Shabbat dinners with my family and my family friends in Asheville, where I'm from. And that was really fascinating. That's something that never would have happened without the pandemic. And then, joining you and those other guys in that discussion and having just a tight knit group of small business owners to talk to. I had something like that at 10,000 Small Businesses from Goldman Sachs when I did that program. And like the first day, everybody's like, wait, you don't sleep either. And you have all these problems. And it was finally someone, that to lend an ear to, because I mean, you can talk to your significant other or other people, and there just really is an understanding of like the level of sacrifice that you are giving and you're willing to give to make your business succeed. There's like a internal fire, I think, in every small business owner that's like every morning, I just wake up and I am completely motivated. I never like roll out of bed and go like, oh, I don't want to go to work. Like I'm like, oh, sport, let's go. And I really liked working at Athletico. And honestly, I remember leaving there several times feeling so good about helping people that I'm like, man, if I didn't need money, like I wouldn't need to get paid to do this. And to this day, I still have kind of that feeling where I just get so many like people, just saying thank you in so many different ways for what the trainers are doing. And I get to celebrate that and get to celebrate them. And so, I mean, it doesn't really answer too much your community question. I mean, I think that things did change, and having those Zoom, cocktail hours and Shabbats and stuff opened things up in a way that, I saw people I never would have saw. And I really appreciated that. And I hope that we can still do some of those things when life goes back to whatever's next.
Yeah. Well, and I think what I'm hearing you say is like, there's just a different level of accountability. And I'll, again, as business owners, we maybe have found a different level of accountability to each other. And that's, I think, one of the kind of nice surprises of the last year for us as we've built the Navigating Now community and the 35 plus folks that have stepped into this discussion. It inevitably leads to us, checking in at minimum, supporting each other and making other connections as well. And I think, again, just a little bit more of that kind of empathy for the fact that like we're all going through this, and it's maybe, again, kind of lifted the curtain or the veil, if you will, on what it really takes to run a business. And we all recognize today it takes even more than it did a year ago. And I want to just thank you for, being a part of our community.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you've just been one of those like staples, right? In my weekly discussion with you when I come and train with you, and it's been great to bring you into some of the other kind of broader business discussions that we've been having. You've informed us, you've informed the folks around us, and for that we want to thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, so. If you've got any questions for Aaron, how do folks find you? I know they could probably follow you and or Wattage on Instagram. What's the best way?
The best way is probably to email either Aaron, Aaron at wattagept.com.
Mm-hmm.
I have an Instagram handle. I don't even know what it is. Or if they're interested in Wattage, it's Wattage PT or at Wattage PT for Instagram. And then our website is wattagept.com, which is the best way to reach out to the business.
Cool. Yep, absolutely. Check them out for sure. Again, we want to thank Aaron for joining today. We've got an incredible March series. March rolls on and we're already almost halfway through. Next week, we have Nosa at the table. Nosa's just a great leader, wears a lot of hats in both business, professional development, personal development as well too. And then we will round the month off with a review of the 2021 Workplace Learning Report from LinkedIn. That'll be the Thought Team Learning and Development Team bringing that to you on the 25th. So just a lot of great content. Aaron, again, thank you so much for today's. And as I mentioned, we broadcast live each week at 3:00 Central Time. For those of you who want to check in on our upcoming agenda and or register for upcoming events, you can go to thoughtteam.com/live. Thanks everybody for joining. Have a great rest of the Thursday. And Aaron, we'll see you at the gym.
All right. Thanks. That next one's going to be great with Nosa.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're really looking forward to that. Everybody have a good day. Thanks, everyone.